So we learned about Kedusha, holiness. And holiness is a concept that can only be found in the Jewish tradition. And it's not that I am saying it. The concept only exists in the Jewish tradition.
Why? They have holy water.
They don't have. We'll see soon. Holiness only exists within the Jewish tradition. Other religions don't claim that they have the concept of holiness. And I'll explain what I mean by it. Let's take an example. Is this shul holy?
Yeah.
No, just the building. Is the building holy?
Is this Bet Knesset or is it...
This building right now, the bricks, are they holy?
I think it's holy.
So the answer is, they represent holiness, but definitely they are not holy. And how do we know this? How do I know they're not holy? Because if I want, let's say somebody comes and says, Rabbi, here's $500,000, build the bigger shul. Right? It's not a problem to take these bricks, throw them away, and build the building shul, which means the bricks themselves are not holy. Let's take another example. Down the block over there, if you go down Fort Lowell, there's a church. If next week you see on Kagan News, you know Kagan News? You see there's going to be an interview. And what's going in the interview? I'm on the roof of the church. I'm standing, for example, on the roof of that church. And I've got an axe in my hand. And I am chopping down the big cross on top of the axe. And the entire people are coming down and says, Rabbi, you're crazy. What are you doing? It's holy. How can you do such a thing? The structure is holy. The cross is holy. It's a holy thing. What are you doing? And I'll tell them, after a while, I don't listen. I continue to chop. They're going to call the FBI. They're going to call this. The rabbi lost his mind. Look what he's doing. But then as the FBI guy climbs up the ladder, I'm going to show you, hi guys, I didn't see you. I had my earphones on. Let me explain what I'm doing. See, there's a guy over there. He donated a golden cross. He donated a golden one. And all I'm doing right now is I'm taking off this cross because I want to help Christianity. What do I want to do? I want to put the golden cross. So in other words, even the Christians don't claim that the cross is holy. They don't have a concept of holy. But let me give you an example. Let's say there's a Sefer Torah. The Sefer Torah is, let's say, a book of the Torah. And let's say it's blemished. It's old. It's missing half of its letters. It's not there anymore. And I want to cut it up because the part where the mezuzah is, just the part where the mezuzah is, I can cut it out and I can use it for a mezuzah. Like this, it cannot be used. It cannot be used. What do I have to do? I have to bury it. I cannot use it. So at least I'm going to save it. I'm going to cut out the part of the mezuzah and I'm going to put the mezuzah on the doorpost. And what are they going to tell me? They're going to tell me, don't dare to do it. Why? Because there's a concept of holiness. What does the concept of holiness mean? Concept of holiness means the Sefer Torah itself is holy. What does it mean? It has got godly energy in it. So this is one concept that we find in Judaism. Objects, there are objects within the world which are holy. What does it mean holy? They've got godliness in them. For example, not many by the way. There's not that many. There's a Sefer Torah, there's a mezuzah, there's tefillin, matzah on Pesach. That's about it. Lulav only during Sukkot. The object itself becomes holy. The concept of that kind of holiness only exists, an invention of Judaism. No other religion claims to take objects and make them holy. They represent holiness, but they don't become holy. Yeah? So there are some objects in the world which are made, let's call it up, which are made out of godly energy. Okay? Everything else in the world, as we discussed, is if a person, there's also when it comes to actions, there are some actions that we can take, that we can do, that represents godly energy. Let's take an example. Any commandment. When a person does a commandment, he connects to godly energy. That's what commandments are. A commandment, one connects to godliness. That's what a commandment is. So when one performs a commandment, his action becomes godly. What is a commandment though? A commandment is when a person puts God first and himself he doesn't put in the picture. That's what a commandment says. I'm doing, God, what you want, not what I want. That's what a commandment means. Commandment means we come to God and we say, you're the boss, we're connecting to you, we're not even thinking what I want, we're thinking what you want. Any other action that you do, that a person does, besides connecting to God, is called klipa. And this is what we discussed in klipa, shells. It's the other side. Let's call it's anti-godliness. The energy that one uses while doing those actions are anti-godliness. So if you thought about God, you did a commandment, your action is a godly action. If you thought about yourself, your own desires, your own things, your actions are for yourself, and it's called idol worship. Any action which is not for God is an idol worship. That's what we discussed in chapter Vav. That's what you discussed in chapter Vav, and this is the conclusion we got. In the end of chapter Vav, in the end of chapter 6, we started discussing that you should know there's two types of klipa. There's the klipa that God put into this world. We're going to discuss later on why he put, where you don't have the power to use it for godliness. Let's take an example. Your neighbor's wife. Any relationship between you and your neighbor's wife cannot be elevated. Every time you're being nice to your neighbor's wife, you tell her, oh, this dress looks good at you. Or, oh, I like the way your hair looks. And you're doing it for good reasons. You want her to feel good. You don't have vile ideas. What are you doing?
Flirting.
Thank you. Exactly, that's what you're doing. Why is it not allowed? Because God told you, you cannot, that type of energy between you and the neighbor's wife cannot be elevated. You don't have the power to take it. Let's take an example, just so people would understand. Some people look, Judaism prohibits this, prohibits that, prohibits this. God is mean. Why does he make all these good shrimp and pork and ham and hamburgers and cheese, and then he tells us don't use it? What's the idea? So the idea is like this. Imagine you're going to go to a hotel, and the hotel is open, and you want to take everything from the hotel, the television, you want to take the lamp, the bed not so much, you see soon why, the lamp, all the electronics, the refrigerator, you want to take home. So God tells you, don't take them home. So you ask God why? But they exist. I can use them. God says because you won't be able to connect them at home to your electricity. They don't connect to that your type. You cannot, there's no way for you, only hotels have the energy to make them run. You cannot, a Jew cannot elevate, cannot make holy those things. All the things that you cannot make holy, God stays refrain from them. Or as we call them last time, we called them the asur. It's tied. It's jailed in the hands of the klippa. It's jailed in the hands of those things that you're not able to elevate. You won't be able to elevate them. That's what we were last time. In the end of the chapter, he comes and he introduced to us a new klippa. Which klippa? Very good. Klippat Noga. Klippat Noga. Klippat Noga is also a klippa. In other words, when a person is having a steak on a Tuesday, the steak is kosher. Not a problem to eat it. But the question is, why do we eat the steak on this Tuesday? And the answer is because it tastes good. Steak tastes good. That's why you're eating it Tuesday. At that moment, the eating of the steak has got nothing to do with God. It only has to do with yourself. You want to eat a steak? God says, let's say there's the temple. You want to eat a steak and elevate it? There is a way to elevate it. How? You take the sheep into the temple and you tell the Kohen, I want to bring a sacrifice to God. And the Kohen takes the sheep. He takes some of the sheep to himself, some of the fats he burns on the altar, and the rest of the flesh he gives to you. Then if you eat that sheep, you're eating a sacrifice. That the sheep became holy. But to make a regular sheep on a Tuesday holy, how are you going to do it? So today we don't have the temple. So we see there's actually a way today also how to eat a sacrifice of today. But usually we don't eat the sheep for God. We eat the sheep for whom? For ourselves. Let's take an example that we're all familiar with. Maybe not all, but most of us are familiar with. Which one? Tzlaot Keves. No, I'll give you a better example. Relationship with the wife. Yeah? Relationship with the wife. Yeah? It's a mitzvah. Be fruitful and multiply. But do we do it for the sake of the mitzvah? Or do most men, why am I saying most men? Do all men do it because Abraham didn't? But I'm talking about people, regular people like us, yeah? We do it because we're animals. The same way a dog does it, for the same reason a dog wants to procreate, we want to procreate. Nothing to do with God. It feels good. At that moment, we're going against God. We're using our body. The action is not a godly action. It's an ungodly action. Okay? That's where we were last time. So let's start Perek Zayin. And remember, we're introducing in Perek Zayin Klippas Noga. We're not talking about the neighbor's wife. We are on page 27. We're not talking about the neighbor's wife over here. We're talking about our wife. Perek Zayin. אך נפש החיונית הבהמית שבישראל, but the soul, we said, every Jew has two souls. The godly soul and the animal soul. And the two souls live inside of him at the same time. So that means at the same time you want godliness, at that same time you also want idol worship. You want yourself. So you're thinking about God and about yourself at the same time. So now we're talking about the nefesh hachiyunit, the soul that wants to exist. Because it wants to exist, it wants to eat, it wants to procreate, it wants to have the pleasures of the world. שמצד הקליפה המלובשת בדם, that it is from the aspect of klipa. And like we explained before, It is dressed in the blood. Does anybody remember which chapter was it discussed before? Chapter 1. Remember, just in the beginning of the Tanya, we discussed it. Ha'adam kanal. So those soul, ונפשות בהמות וחיות ועופות ודגים טהורים, and all the souls of the kosher animals, and the kosher birds, and the kosher fish, who are what? Look at the two words in Hebrew. The word prohibited in Hebrew is asur. Asur means tied. It means it's tied. Why is it prohibited? Because there's no way for you to elevate it. That's why it's prohibited. You cannot elevate a pig. So God says, refrain from eating it. Because there's no way. It is tied, even if you ate it, and you used that energy for Torah and mitzvahs. You ate it, and then you saved a human being, because you had the strength from that pig. That action doesn't go up to God. That's what it means. It's very strange. You did the mitzvah, you saved his life, but the pig wasn't elevated to God. Yeah? You can't elevate pig. That's why it's called asur. It is jailed. It is tied in the klippa. But if you ate all those things, they are mutar. In Hebrew means permitted. But mutar in Hebrew also means untied. Asur, it's untied. In other words, even if you ate, we're going to see what happens. You can maybe eat them for the wrong reason. Umutarim ba'achila, those things that are permissible in eating. V'kiyum v'chayut kol hadomem v'chol hatzomeach. Also the existence of pretty much everything in this world. Every object that is not prohibited. Most objects in this universe are not prohibited. I can't think of many objects that are. Idol worship object is prohibited, except idol worship object, a statue for example, which is used for idol worship. Pretty much any other object within the universe is not prohibited, therefore it's klippa. It's still not godly, unless we're going to do something, it's too soon. Kol hadomem, any inanimate object, kol hatzomeach, all the vegetation, hamutar be'achila, that it's permissible to be eating, וכן קיום וחיות כל המעשה דיבור ומחשבה בענייני עולם הזה, and also when a person does an action, speaks or thinks of anything that has to do with the physical world, שאין בהם צד איסור. We're not talking about things that you're not allowed to. I don't know, I want to have a kosher chicken. I want to have a relationship with my wife tonight. We're not talking about something that you're not allowed to. לא שורש ולא ענף משסה מצוות לא תעשה וענפיהם. They don't even have a hint of a negative connotation. רק שאינם לשם שמיים. But why are you doing those acts? God is not in the picture when you're doing it. You're not doing it for the sake of God. You're doing it for your own desires. And by the way, אלא רצון הגוף וחפצו. It is the will of the body. It is the desire of the body. ותאוותו. And here is going to say something very controversial. ואפילו הוא, and even if that desire, הוא צורך הגוף וקיומו וחיותו ממש, is really necessary for the enlivenment of the body. Let's explain what he's saying. Look, if I right now I'm going to eat 2 ice creams, 2 big types of ice creams. Of course I'm not doing it for God. There's no way I'm doing it for God. I'm doing it because I love ice cream. That's what I eat. I can see that this is not godly. It is obvious it's not godly. I'm doing it for me. I'm worshiping myself, not God. For sure. The question is, what about a guy in the Holocaust? He's in a concentration camp. And he found potato peels somewhere. He's starving. He didn't eat for 2 days. And he takes the potato peel and he eats it. Why is he eating it? Because he wants to survive. He wants to be alive. He's saying over here that action that guy is taking now is klipa. Even that, just in order to survive. It has nothing, no godliness in it. Zero godliness in it. He's doing it in order because he's thinking about whom?
But it's not a desire.
It's a desire to survive. Yeah? It's a desire to survive. That's all he's thinking about. He wants to survive. He's thinking about himself. He's not. I'll give you an example when it's not desire to survive. If the reason why he's eating the apple, this potato, is because he needs the energy, he's thinking, actively thinking, God wants me to put on tefillin today, or God wants me to connect to him today, and I'm going to make sure, or even God wants me to be alive today. Yeah? If that's what he's doing, then he's elevating it. He's doing it for God. But over here, he didn't think about God. Who did he think about? Only himself. So if you think about yourself, the action, the energy of that action has got nothing to do with godliness. It has nothing to do with godliness, but you're going to say, but he's not eating pig. It's not pig though, right?
Is that all with the intention? Is that where you turn something like that holy?
Very good. So let's discuss what you just asked. So when it comes to a pig, your intention doesn't matter. You cannot elevate it with whichever way you want. Klipas noga, everything else in the world, it's only because of your intention. Your intention makes it either go up to holiness or it brings it down to anti-godliness. The two there. Everything is about the intentions. In physics,
So you have to be pretty focused.
I'll give you an example. That's why whenever a person eats anything, he says a bracha. Why does he say a bracha? Why does he say a blessing before he eats something? Why does a person say a blessing?
To become mindful.
Or to remind himself, I should have the intentions that I'm eating this for the sake of God. That's what the bracha is. The bracha is a reminder. Why am I eating this? I'm eating it for the sake of God, not for my sake. Otherwise it becomes idol worship. Ela, shekavanato eno leshem shamayim. For example, the guy we described, he doesn't have a meaning, another action, just for that people would understand this. In physics, there's a concept that right now was introduced about 50, 60 years ago by Einstein, maybe a little bit more, about Schrodinger's cat. Did you ever hear about it? It says you don't know the state of something until you observed it. Only the observation, in other words, a particle lives in two states, but you only know what it is after you observe it. In other words, it's not here and not here. This is Klipas Nega. It lives within a state, but you don't know what it is. Any object in the world can either become holy or unholy. Let me take you an example. I've got $100 bill. I can go with it to Vegas, to some lady of the night, and I can give it to a hospital to save somebody's life. So if you ask me, the $100 bills, what is it? Is it holy or not holy? Everything depends on the intentions. Depends what you want to do with it. If you want to save somebody's life with this $100 bill, it becomes holy. If you want to have a good time with the lady of the night, it becomes the opposite of holy. Yeah? Everything is intentions. The $100 bill is nothing to in itself right now. Yeah? The lady of the night is always unholy. Yeah, we'll discuss it also. We're going to discuss. We will discuss this later. What you bringing in? כדי לעבוד את השם בגופו. So it says, he's doing it. If the guy is not doing it in order to serve God, he's doing it just because he wants to survive, or he wants to have a good time, or he likes the steak itself. And now comes the controversial part. Listen to the words he's saying. With page 27, top of page 28. Lo adifi, it says it's not better. מעשה דיבור ומחשבות אלו, these kinds of actions, or speech, or thoughts, מנפש החיונית הבהמית בעצמה, from the animal soul itself. And we remember the animal soul is what? Is idol worship. It's thinking about yourself. The animal soul is paro. I care about me, myself, and I. I don't care about anything. Remember, this is something that a lot of people make a mistake, and it's something that I said many times, but we need to emphasize it. Many people think that the animal soul loves their wives. The animal soul is not capable of loving your wife. It is impossible for it to love your wife. And the reason is why. The reason why it cannot love its wife, because the animal soul doesn't have the capacity to think beyond its own desire. It can only think about itself. And I'll give you an example. If you married a woman because she was beautiful, she was nice, she was kind, she was good with the children, she knows how to cook, whatever qualities you married her, you never loved her. You know what you loved? Those qualities. And how do I know? Because as soon as those qualities go away, she's not nice, she's not kind, she doesn't cook, she doesn't take care of the children, she's mean to you, all of a sudden, what happens to the love? The love goes away. Why? Because you never loved her. You never loved her. You loved the feeling that she gave you. So as long as she gives you what you like, the animal soul likes it. As soon as she doesn't give you what you like, you don't like it anymore. And no matter what you're going to tell yourself, it is incapable. The animal soul cannot, it is impossible for it to love somebody else. Even if we're human beings, we're pack animals, we live in groups. The reason why you like other people, or even a friend, think about your friend. Why is he your friend? Why is a friend your friend? Because you like the conversations you have with him. You like that you're doing stuff together, right? That's what you're a friend. Let's say all the conversation are going to be negative from now on, and all the stuff you're going to do with him are going to be negative from now on. Are you going to still be his friend? I don't want to. I'm his friend because I like the conversation. The guy is an intellectual. The guy, I like him. As soon as it stops, I don't like him anymore. That's the animal soul. It is incapable of really love. והכל כאשר לכל נשפע ונמשך ממדרגה השנית שבקליפה וסטרא אחא. שהיא קליפה רביעית. This is we have שלושה קליפות הטמעות. These are the things that go directly against God. Your neighbor's wife, relationship with your neighbor's wife is directly against God. Relationship with your wife is not directly against God. It depends on your intention. If you have a relationship with the wife because God commanded to make the wife happy, and you know that the wife needs a hug, and that's why you give her a hug, maybe even a little bit more than a hug, for her, that's a mitzvah. But if you did it because you felt like getting off, as they say, you just turn it into קליפה. הנקראת קליפת נוגה שבעולם הזה, הנקרא עולם העשייה, it's called the world of action, this world. And in this world, רובו ככולו רע. 99% of it is bad. Think about the actions that we do throughout the day. All the actions that we do throughout the day is 99% of it is bad. What do you mean bad? If it's not godly, it's about us. It's idol worship. I'm worshiping myself. I don't care what God wants. I care what I want. Who comes first? God or me?
The animal soul.
The animal soul comes first every time.
What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Right?
Yeah. But it cannot be all bad. How do I know it cannot be all bad? Because we can elevate it to godliness. It is possible to elevate it to godliness. רק מעט טוב מעורב בתוכה. A little bit of good is in it. And in Kabbalah, we're not doing Kabbalah right now, just for you to know, this is called Birur HaNetzutzot. There's sparks of godliness that God put in this physical world, and our job as Jews is to bring those sparks of godliness up to God. So every time you are involved with a physical object, one has to make sure that to take the spark of godliness in that object that can go up to God and bring that spark up to God, and don't bring it the opposite way. If you have the intention of that God is in the picture, if you're thinking about God at the time, you're bringing it up to God. And if you don't, you're bringing it down to Klippa. שממנו באות מידות טובות שבנפש הבהמית שבישראל. It says, from it comes the good attributes that the Jewish people have, kindness, ביישנים, humble. והיא בבחינת ממוצעת, and this is an intermediary level, בין שלוש קליפות הטמעות לגמרי. When it comes to eating, for example, pig, we cannot take the sparks within pig and elevate it, but we can take the spark within a sheep and elevate it. ובין בחינת ומדרגת הקדושה. ולכן, and therefore, פעמים שהיא נכללת בשלוש קליפות הטמעות, there are some times where they are going to go down into the three levels which is completely against godliness, ופעמים שהיא נכללת ועולה בחינת ומדרגת הקדושה, and sometimes you can elevate it to godliness. How? דהיינו כשהטוב המעורב בה, when you take the spark that's in it, נתברר מהרע וגובר עליה, comes stronger than the evil in the act and goes up on it. ונכלל בקדושה, and it is included in holiness. And he's going to give an example. Can I eat a steak? I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think a human being is capable, forget a human being, us, anybody that you know, is capable to have a relationship with his wife for the sake of God, for the sake of heaven? So the answer is you can lie to yourself. You can tell yourself, I'm doing it for God, I'm doing it for God. Yeah, you can tell yourself. But are you? Is the act, are you doing it for God or are you doing it for yourself? I'm not saying what you're thinking to yourself and you're lying to yourself. Is it possible? Is it possible to do the act for God? I'm asking. That's the question. I can tell you where I'm holding. No, I'm not capable of doing it. Yeah? I know I can learn, I can do it. Ultimately, it's because of me. Even though I know it shouldn't be. That's what the same thing with a steak. Is it possible to eat a steak for the sake of heaven? Steak on a Monday. And not theoretically, is it? Oh, so he's going to give example how it is. Very good. כגון, דמשל, דמן, a person, האוכל בשר השמיינה דתורה. A person who eats a good piece of steak, a good fat piece of steak, ושותה יין מבוסם, and he drinks a Cabernet Sauvignon, from 1934, something, who knows. But why is he doing it? להרחיב דעתו להשם. He's doing it for one thing. The person is a learner. He gets up every day and he learns. He knows this is what God wants to do. He learns Torah. But today, bad things happened. This didn't work. The wife didn't work. The wife is sick. The son is doing stupid things. And he's trying to spend his 1 hour learning and concentrate on godliness, but he's not able because he's like, life is hard on him. So the only reason he's eating the meat and drinking the wine is not because he wants the taste of it. It's because he wants to be able to have an open mind. He knows, you know what? After a good meal, it will open my mind so I can serve God better. So let me give you an example where we said before it was impossible. If I learn Torah, whatever it is, I'm doing something which is holy. For example, I do a mitzvah, I put on tefillin, I'm doing something which is holy. I'm doing a mitzvah. Let's say I'm playing basketball. Is that holy? It's not holy. So the energy of playing basketball is what? Is klipa. But I can show you how me and you can play basketball and it's not going to be klipa. We can play soccer and it's not going to be klipa. For example, there's a young boy who's been learning for 2 hours. Yeah, he's been learning for 2 hours. His brain can't take it anymore. He can't concentrate. You know, he can sit for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. After half an hour, he cannot sit anymore. He's got spilkes. He cannot concentrate. So he tells himself, I'm going to go outside now and I'm going to play basketball for half an hour so I can continue with what? So I can continue with the learning. At that moment, that playing basketball, that basketball playing becomes holy. So this is an example of it can be done. We're not talking about things that are completely above us. Yeah? The problem is that after he had enough time, let's say after 20 minutes or half an hour of playing basketball, he could go back to learning. Or like we tell ourselves, you know, every time we're on the computer, I'm only going to go for 10 minutes just to relax. This 10 minutes turns into 5 hours. That's the problem. So the first 10 minutes might have been holy. The other ones, I'm not so sure. Yeah? So that's the same thing over here. In other words, he's doing it, להרחיב דעתו להשם. Right now, in the state of mind that he's in, he cannot learn Torah. He's doing it in order to open up his brain to God. כדאמר רבא, he learned it in the Gemara, there's a saying, חמרה וריחה, it says if a good wine and a good meal takes care of a person, he opens his mind. Or another reason a person can elevate a steak. During a week, during a Tuesday, to elevate a steak, you need to have the right intention, which is hard. You can tell yourself you have the right intention, just like the relationship with the wife. You can tell yourself you're doing it for God, but between me and you, we all know why we're doing it for. Right? But there's a way to do it which is easier. How? On Shabbat. During Shabbat, there's a commandment to enjoy Oneg Shabbat. One of the commandments of Shabbat is called Oneg Shabbat, which means to enjoy the day. God tells us you have a commandment to enjoy the day physically. Part of the enjoyment of the day physically is to eat a steak. So when a person on Shabbat eats a good steak, or eats a good meal, or drinks good wine on Shabbat, he can elevate it. By the way, a big mistake that people do that says that it is elevated automatically. It's not elevated automatically. See, during the week when I eat the steak and I tell myself I'm eating it for God, yeah, I'm lying. During Shabbat, if I eat the steak and I have a thought that I'm eating it for God also, I'm not lying. Because God commanded me to enjoy the steak. That's the difference. But at least this I can do. But if you don't even have that in mind, in other words, you eat the steak without thinking about God, it's not elevated. It's not elevated automatically. You need to think that God, you commanded me to enjoy this steak on Shabbat. And then okay. או בשביל כדי לקיים מצוות עונג שבת ויום טוב, or in order to do the commandment of enjoying Shabbat, or a holiday, אזי נתברר חיות הבשר והיין, then the energy which is neither here nor there, of Klipat Noga, is elevated miklipas Noga, from this Klipa, ve'ola le'Hashem ke'ola ve'chekorban. It goes up to Hashem, it becomes exactly like a sacrifice. When? On Shabbat. By the way, this is why you probably heard about it, you read it about her, this is why there's a specific commandment to have relationship with the wife, specifically on Shabbat. Because during the week, most people cannot elevate this type of energy. During Shabbat, it's much easier. Another example, if a person says a good joke, you like jokers, right? So usually jokes are what? Klippa. It's just there to have fun. But over here, the guy didn't say a joke just to have fun. What did he say? The rabbi says words of a joke. Why does he do it? Because he sees the crowd is, they're all thinking about something which is bad. There was fires in Israel today, and they can't concentrate on the class. So in order for them to be able to relax a little bit, he tells them a joke. לפקח דעתו ולשמח ליבו להשם ולתורתו. Because a person who's sad, is worried, is not able to concentrate. So he's doing it in order to open up people's hearts. ועבודתו, that what? שצריכים להיות בשמחה. That when one serves God, it should always be through happiness. Let's discuss this a little bit. We discussed many times that we are consisting of two forces that live within us. We want to be servants of God, and we want to be servants of ourselves. One is godliness, one is idol worship. And these two service, the one who is stronger, who lives within us, who we identify with, is our animal soul. We know him. He's us. We're hungry, we're thirsty, we're tired. It's all the animal soul. It's the one we understand. It's the one who we really are. The godly soul, how many times do we think about God during a day? Hopefully, when we put on tefillin. If you like me, you're so used to it that it's like brushing your teeth. That's how it becomes. I put on tefillin. I brush my teeth also. When I brush my teeth, do you think about God? When I put on tefillin, it's almost the same sometimes. Yeah? We say the words, but we say it every day. Do we actually mean it? Why? Because we're not in contact with the godly soul. We're in contact with the animal soul. We understand it.
Can you take an act like with the tefillin in the morning? Can you take an extra step to allow you to connect? I mean, is there?
Think about it.
I'm asking.
Yes, you're supposed to think about it. There's actually, we're going to learn it. Before one puts on tefillin, one have to take this time and think about what he's doing. For example, it says, when one puts on the head tefillin, one should be thinking that he's subjugated the mind, the head tefillin, he's subjugated his mind to think about godliness. And when one puts his hand tefillin, one should think about that he's subjugating his heart to love godliness and to have awe of godliness. You have to actively think it. And if one doesn't actively thinking, it becomes like what I do, like brushing teeth. It's hard. And therefore, he's saying it, in order to have a battle between the godly soul and the animal soul, if you have a battle right now, I know who's going to win. You know who's going to win? The animal soul is going to win anytime. And if a person is depressed because he knows he's not acting like a good Jew, he's depressed because of it. What happens? Then the depression doesn't even give him a chance to win the war against his evil inclination, against the animal soul. So in Hasidus, in Judaism in itself, it says, always be besimcha. What does it mean, always be happy? Always be happy means you should always be happy that God chose you to serve him. God chose us to serve Him. And what's the happiness? The happiness gives us the energy to battle against the evil inclination. If you're not going to be happy, forget about it. By the way, when the evil inclination makes us sin, it doesn't care that you sinned. It's not the sin. You know what he cares about? He knows that after the sin, you're going to be depressed. And if you're depressed, he's stronger. He is not thinking about the action. He's like China. He's not thinking what's going to happen next week. He's thinking what's going to happen 50 years down the line. He's got a long-term strategy. Not like America that thinks in terms of 4 years, because in another 4 years, going to be a new president. China is thinking, the evil inclination is China. He doesn't care what happens tomorrow. He is thinking long-term. וכמו שעשה רבא לתלמידיו, just like Rabbi did to his children, to his students, that he told them a joke. Why? שאמר לפניהם מילתא בדיחותא, he told them a joke. Why? So that they will have the energy to go against the evil inclination. That's why he told them a joke. But if you say a joke just for the sake of the joke, that's klipa. If you say a joke in order to open the minds of the students so that they can perform Torah and mitzvahs better, that's kedusha.